Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of No Holding Back the podcast. It is your girl, Taylor T. This is a podcast, as you know, where we like to spotlight the highs and lows that creators face on their journey to success. And for today's episode, we are talking to a good friend of mine and tech founder, Miss Chynna Morgan. And we're going to get to learn about how she started her company, Vidlo, what it means for her to take up space as a Black woman in tech, and so much more. So I won't keep you waiting any longer. Here is another episode of No Holding Back, the podcast. Thank you so much, Chynna, for coming on my podcast, No Holding Back. I so appreciate it. This is a long time coming. I've been wanting to chat with you for a while. I feel like I've been saying that since we met, probably 2 years ago?
The first time we met, you're like, I need you on my podcast. I was like,
yes. Yes. And I was so interested in you coming on and just, talking about your story as a founder, especially in the tech space, because you are a Black woman that is in this space that's like, how are you navigating day to day and, understanding what that means for someone like you? So I always felt like you would be the perfect person to talk to. And also, I know that you probably had a life before, being a tech founder. Yeah. And so what did that pivot even look like? So, there's things that I do want to ask you in this interview, but I always felt like your story was so important to not just Black and brown women who want to be founders, but just creatives in general. And them understanding that, this journey that you're on, it might not look how you want it to look, and you might end up somewhere much better.
Oh,
yes.
Pivot, right? And that's what it's all about. It's like, you might have a dream, but God can take your dream to other places that you can't even imagine, So I love that you touched on that.
Absolutely. And you embody that. So, first things first, like I said, I know you had a life before being a tech founder. Yeah. So before we get to all that you have built, I would love to know, who was Chynna before the titles and the tech brand?
Who is Chynna? I think Chynna is a daughter, a sister, a good friend. I think I'm a good person. I would like to say. So I think, and I think it's so easy, especially being in the tech field, to like say your title. People live with their titles. It's like, who are you? Why do people like you? So hopefully they like me because I'm a kind person. I'm generous with my knowledge and my resources. So that's who I was before I was a founder.
Did you ever explore any other industries? Were you ever interested in any other facet of creativity and art?
Yeah, so actually I come from the entertainment industry. So I've been an actor since I was 7. Theater, commercials, TV, all that stuff, right? But I knew I had to go to college because being an actor or in the entertainment industry is not like a for sure you're going to make it, right? So I know how to go to school. So I was still acting. I was getting actually my master's in healthcare management when I started my first tech company. So from acting to healthcare to now the tech space. But they all kind of go together in a sense, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely use your skills across all of those.
Yeah.
all of those industries. Did you always know, since you did go to school for, what was it? You said public healthcare, and then you started your first tech company. Yeah. Did you always know that you were going to be a founder, or
I
was it something that just, yeah?
I know I was going to start a business. That wasn't even like, okay. I knew I when I was in college, I had one job for three weeks, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. I was like, I know I'm not meant to like working from 9 to 5. I'm bored. I'm looking at the clock. I was like, I knew I have to start something of my own. So my whole goal was, when I was getting my master's, I was going to start my own home care agency in the Bay Area. So I knew I was going to start some type of business. I didn't know it was going to be in tech, but it was going to be in something,
And so what about working for someone else did you not enjoy?
I don't think it was about working for someone else. Maybe I guess it was more so not doing what I want to do, like something that I'm passionate about, something that I'm waking up and just excited about. And I think there's power in cultivating something of your own and seeing it come to life, and I think just some people just have that in them, where they just want to build their own stuff and not have to work for anyone else. And maybe I had that bug since I was a little girl. But yeah, I think it's just kind of like, I know I have big ideas and I want to build on those. And I'd rather build my own ideas than someone else's.
Yeah. So how old were you when you were like, I'm stepping full throttle into being a founder and not looking back?
Let's see. So I graduated when I was 22. I was getting my master's at 23. 23, 24.
Mm-hmm.
And I became a founder at 25. I think my first time being a founder was at 20. I think it was 25, 26 is when my first tech company.
Wow. Wow. And so what did you learn about that process going from being a student to now going into being a founder of a tech company at 25,
At
26
25.
years old, child?
So, well, I know. And I didn't know anything about tech. I didn't have any friends in tech. When I went to school, everyone's a doctor, the nurses. So everything was in the health field, right? So it was me, Yahoo, and Google. I say this every time that was busting everything out in terms of what I needed to know. And one thing I learned is that community is so important, especially in the marketing and tech industry. It's really who you know, right?
Mhm.
It's the connections that you build. It's other people seeing your vision and how they can kind of open doors for you. So I learned that very easy. If you don't have a network, you don't really have a lot of leeway into opening up doors that you need to like really capitalize on your technology. So it builds a really thoughtful community around what you're building. That's the one thing that I learned very early on.
And I'm not familiar with your first tech company, but what about or what did you learn actually from that experience, from ideating to launching and putting it out into the world for them to digest and trying to grow and expand? What did you learn from that situation that you
Yeah.
were able to then, take with you into your next tech company, which is Vidlo?
Yeah, so embrace the pivots. Like when I came into, I had one idea of like how I think people are going to use my technology, right? And then other brands started reaching out, hey, can you build it this way? Can you customize it this way? And I had to learn, okay, it's not about what I want, it's about what the people want. What is the audience saying and what do they want from my technology? And I think a lot of founders get that wrong, is that we have this idea and we think it's right. But we're not building it for ourselves. We're building it for our consumer, for our ICP. So what are they looking for and how can we build it so they're satisfied with the solution that's going to solve their pain point? So that's
Yeah.
what I learned from that journey, is I had to embrace the pivots and change and pivot and pretty much evolve into a new company.
Were there any personal adversities that you had to overcome during the process of building a tech company the first
You
time
know, you know what? I don't think I've ever thought about it because I'm always on go. That
around?
even if it was adversity, I don't think I've ever really paid attention to it, and that had me like, it made me stop, or like it it didn't allow me to continue forward. So I guess maybe that's just like my mindset too, is it's like if there's something, I'm just still gonna keep it going. It's not really gonna stop, I guess, the flow of what I'm building.
Yeah, well, tell me more about your mindset because that is very unique. I feel like when we are building something that we love and we care about,
Mhm.
and we understand that we are sometimes the only in a room,
Mhm.
some of us do walk around with that on our back, like, dang, now as the only, I have to navigate this space in a specific way. But it sounds like you don't even, that doesn't even cross your mind.
I don't think it does. And I think that even as a Black woman, right, as a Black person, we have to leverage that as our superpower. We are different in these spaces, and that comes with a different mindset, that comes with different innovations. So we have to turn it into a superpower and be proud to be in those rooms, even for the only one, because now they see us and they're going to see thousands more that look like us that are going to come after we are in those rooms. So I don't think I ever looked at it as like I'm the only one. What's happening is more so, okay, look, who else can I bring into the room? You know what I mean? Like, I know the power that I have. I know the knowledge that I have in the space and what I'm building. I never saw that as like a threat, or, like
Yeah.
something that's not welcome in those rooms.
Where does that confidence come from, China? Because I think that's a great attribute to have because you don't get, I don't want to say that we as, people of color, we get locked into the idea of being the only or being the Black woman or sticking out like a sore thumb, right? I'm not saying that, but sometimes it can limit you in your mind and you come in sometimes feeling a certain way in whatever environment you might be. So where does that confidence come from that it's just, I'm not even gonna allow anything or anyone to stop me from going to this space confidently?
Maybe maybe I think I've always had the same mindset growing up from
Hmm.
from a younger child, from a young child. But also, maybe it's my environment. I was raised with all types of different races. Also, those spaces are not different for me to be welcomed in and to feel, like okay being in those rooms. So maybe it's a mix of like just my upbringing and also just the confidence that I have, and what I think I can bring in the rooms.
Yeah. And so after your first tech company, you now have Vidlo.
Yes.
So what was that transition like from moving from one company to the next?
Okay.
And how did you land on the idea of building your new company?
So let's talk about turning a lemon into lemonade, okay? So I was building Vidlo. I mean, I was building Jif Out Loud, and then the pandemic happened. Now with Jif Out Loud, we were a kiosk, a music kiosk for events, brand activations, like the Formula One events and retail activations. No one wanted to touch a kiosk. No one wanted to go to events. Everything was paused and closed. So everything stopped. So I said, okay, I'm like, what can I do to still serve our clients, whether the pandemic's here or not? And then I started realizing the importance of video testimonials for smaller brands, right? Or for even music artists. How can we get your fans creating these short, big content at home or wherever they're at, where they can share it on TikTok or Instagram? So I started like brainstorming on those ideas. During the pandemic, everyone was at home. So I was able to kind of like talk to marketers, small businesses to see kind of like what would they want in this space. And I kind of built it around that. So I feel like I had enough data to be like, this is something that can actually work and is needed. And then we started building and launched.
So take me to launch day. Like, what did you have to do to lead up to launching such an organization as Vidlo and getting it out to the world?
So I would say it was way easier than when I launched Jif Out Loud, just because now I have people in those spaces. I have clients. I'm already kind of like known in a sense for what I'm building. So it was just, I was able to leverage our past clients. So they were our first customers. So I didn't have to fight into kind of like that grid of like having to get subscriptions or to get new customers. And then it kind of rolled off to like referrals. So like, oh my God, this is a platform, you need this. So that's kind of like how it started taking off. But I'll say launch day was exciting. It's always scary, right? Because you're launching something, putting it out there. It's always
Yeah.
that like that scary, that fear moment. But you live through it and you see how it can kind of take off, you know.
Yeah. And what are some of the things that you feel like creatives need to know and understand about what it means to launch a company, a brand, whatever the thing might be? It could be a podcast, just
Yeah.
launching anything that you truly believe in. What is something you think creatives should know about that process?
I think you have to understand who is your audience, right? Who are you building anything for? Because if you don't know that, then you're not building anything. It's not going to work because you don't even know who you're messaging to. You don't know how you should create the features and how that's going to relate to your audience. So, and I know a lot of tech founders, they want to create products, but they have not even talked to someone that they think could use it, right? So now you're wasting this money for like why? So I would say please research your space, research your audience, so you can actually build something that's going to really penetrate the market.
What's something you believe that people don't realize it takes to launch a product out into the world?
Ooh, resilience. You know, resilient. You have to
Tell me
be.
about
You know, it's
it.
just, things are not going to look the way you want. You have to have patience. Your people are building it. It's not going to work. You have to go back. You might have to change the like. It's a lot of going back and forth. So building a tech company is not. When people say it's like not easy, it's not easy in the sense of you have to have some type of grit and patience and resilience with just like following the flow of it, and it might not look how you want, but you can't give up until you get to your final product. So if you don't have the patience and you don't have the resilience of like things are going to come your way, something might not work, you might have to pivot, you might have to change, then this is probably not the space to be in, because you have to have a lot of that, just building technology and growing a company, you know.
Yeah. Can you take us through a time when you had to apply that resilience and that patience while building your business?
Yes. So when I was first building Vidlo, our tech was just not at a place. Like I was building for months, and it was just kind of like I had a deadline. I was like, "Hey, you guys, we need to be done by." I gave us 6 months. 6 months comes, all the features are not done. It's not the quality that I want. So like I'm still having to like go back to the drawing board, see how we can like minimize the feature just so we can get something out. It was just a lot of like timeline going back and forth and trying to figure out like the best way to build the technology without having so many expenses to build it. So just kind of that journey of thinking it's going to be launched in 6 months and you wait 2 years and then now it's done, right? It's just kind of what that takes.
Did that happen? You had to wait 2 years?
It was like a year and a half before we launched. just because I'm a perfectionist, number one. So like it has to be right? The technology anyway.
Absolutely.
And just kind of like what it takes to lead up to like launching a company, you know? Yeah, it was longer than what I expected for sure.
Oh my gosh. And so if you're sitting on, something such as that and you think it's going to take 6 months and it ends up taking a year, what did you learn about yourself within that space? Because that takes some certain, personality characteristics. I feel like to think that, oh, it's about to launch. Oh, just kidding. It's actually going to take a year or two.
You know what? Even you think you're by yourself and then you talk to other tech founders, they're like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. Like, so you feel like it's not just a you issue. You realize it's just when you're testing things, it's not going to work the right way on every person's device. You have to go back. Like it's a lot of testing, right? And I think that it's a lot of talking to your audience. They might test it. So throughout the testing, right, we're allowing our ICP to test it. They're giving us feedback. We're taking their feedback in and we're changing features, right? So it's a lot of like those type of things. So it was live, but we wanted to perfect it before we actually go live with the public, right? So that was just, I guess I realized I had a lot of patience, but also when you're passionate about what you're building, I think that comes naturally because you want it to be right, and you're not going to give up until it's the right thing in the right moment,
Yeah. So you're using some tech terms. I can tell.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What is no, don't apologize. Don't apologize. What is ITP? Just
ICP. I'm sorry, ICP is your ideal
ICP. Okay.
So it's your ideal customer profile. So it's who you need to sell to your company, right? These are people that they need your product, is solving a pain point from them. They're like your number one customers. So you're pretty much creating a company around them, what their needs are, what do they look like, where do they go to school, what's their age, what's their purchasing decision behaviors,
Dang. Okay, I got it. Now I understand. I thought you said ITP. I'm like,
I'm sorry, ICP.
And I can imagine if somebody else is listening to this, they probably like, what does that mean?
I love that you stopped me because even when I say UGC, a lot of people don't know what that is. And it's user generated content. Just content created from your customers or your fans. But a lot of people are like, what? I was like, oh, that's what, okay, that makes sense.
But to your defense, UGC is such a new term that not many people are familiar with it. I feel like UGC didn't become, I don't want to say didn't become a thing, but it wasn't as popular, didn't gain its like clout, I don't know if that's the word, until like during the pandemic when people were at home. And now like just on an everyday regular, like the girls who are trying to be influencers or content creators, they're like interchangeably using UGC now. And so, like that's how they talk about like if there's a product, they will like pitch to like brands like Good Molecules and stuff like that. And Good Molecules is a company that sends out their PR to like not anybody, but people who don't have like a lot of followers, right? Like micro influencers. So they will use that. Like if you want to make UGC content,
it's like a
marketing you reach out to, And so it's a newer term, I feel like. So not many people know that one.
You know what? Thank you for that. But thank you for that.
Yeah.
Just because I say I'm in the industry, so I say it so easily. And I think people know, and I have to realize they don't. And I was actually working with like a city, and I was talking to small businesses, and I was like, you need to capture UGC because it's gonna triple your sales. They're like, oh, okay, let me go back to education mode. UGC, people don't know, but it's so understand. You just have to use a different
it's like a term I feel like people in the marketing space or in your space who like specifically create companies around user generated content, like we know what it is, but the broader public, I don't think
shops, they're like, what is this?
What is that? A testimonial?
Just say that. Please just say that. Just say
a video testimonial.
That's all you need to say.
But it's a newer term, and so people it hasn't caught on like to the masses yet. It's not like influencer. Everybody knows what an influencer is, it's on its way. But anyway, so just how we're talking about like what's happening out in the market and things like that, and what's happening on social media, how do you stay creative while building your business, and how do you stay inspired? Because I'm sure because you are in an industry such as tech, it has to be ahead of innovation. It has to be on top of what is the next best thing for your company and for your users. So how do you stay creative in that space?
I think staying human, because human sells, right? It's just people know what people want. And I think when we get too far from just a human touch, that is when we lose what do we need to build or what stories we need to create. So it's like talking to people, realizing what they want, keeping the human element to it is how I stay in touch with like being creative, and being creative in terms of like things that actually is relatable, and not being too creative with things that are just kind of like outside the scope of like, is this, I know this is really cool, but is this actually, do I need this? It's
I
finding that
love
balance.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I haven't heard it said that way. Like normally when you ask how do you stay ahead of trends and da 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 and how do you innovate, individuals probably reference like articles or,
Mhm.
doing more research. But I love that you said keep it human and
Yeah.
just continue to use things as an everyday person. Like,
I think we try to make things so difficult. And it's really not difficult when you keep it at a very simple level of just kind of like, what do people want?
yeah.
Like what does that look like?
Yeah, and apply it to yourself. Like, okay, well, this is how. I mean, if I were using this thing, and
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about Vidlo or whatever you're looking up or using,
Yeah.
what would I want out of this experience? I
Yeah.
love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
have you ever had, I know you're having much success with your company and building it, from the ground up, but I'm just wondering from an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
standpoint, have you
Yeah.
ever had any feelings that you wanted to walk away from doing all this? And
I've never had that feeling. I
really?
never had the feeling that I want to walk away. You
Ah,
have feelings that like, oh my God, like this is just kind of like at the moment you're just like, oh, you want to just say whatever, but then I jump out of it really fast. So it's not something that lingers. It's like if something didn't work out, I ponder on it for like 2 seconds and then I'm on to the next. Because there's nothing that's gonna happen with me just like pondering on something and it didn't work out. And I also think that comes with my the way that you think about things. It's kind of like if something didn't work out, that means it wasn't supposed to. So, okay, what can I do now? So it's kind of like, how do you work your mind around like what a failure is and what success looks like? And whatever you think about that is how you're gonna, think about entrepreneurship.
yeah, and so how do you identify what is a failure and what is a success? Because that is a skill to be able to pivot out of something that quickly, like, okay,
Yeah.
this didn't work, but now I got to move on. That is a skill to have. So how do
And
you identify the two?
you know what? I don't look at failure as failure. I look at it as a success because like I'm learning something. Like even though it didn't work out, I learned what not to do. I learned something I can do better. I learned what customers I should really go after. So I take it as like a learning lesson more than like failure because I think words are so powerful. And when you hear failure, you're already thinking like negative, right? So you're already kind of like down. It's kind of like, do I need to do this? Is this even going to work out? But if you just change the meaning of it, I think it has more power in your mind of like, okay, that didn't work out. What can I do next to kind of amplify what I'm working on?
Hmm. And so after you experience a moment of, learning a lesson.
Disappointment, right? It could be it could be, I want to sign a client, it didn't work out. That's like oh my, in the moment you're just like kind of like not pissed, but like
Yeah.
on it for a second. But it's kind of like there's so many other more customers. There's so many other technologies. Like I have to get out of that really super fast.
Yeah, and what else do you think pulls you back, for you to not sit in that moment of like being disappointed? What else do you think there is that pulls you back and like, okay, I got to keep it moving, you know?
Because I think my vision is bigger than that one thing, right? Like my vision for what I'm building is bigger than one disappointment. Like I didn't come all this way just to give up because one thing happened, right? It's just if that didn't work out, I'm going to figure out something else that's going to work. And I think that's all about like you really being passionate about what you're building. Because when you're really passionate about what you're building, nothing's really going to stop you from seeing how you want to see your company. Like there's something in you that just like I had this vision in the beginning, and this vision is going to come to life no matter what's coming my way. So,
Mm.
like I said, I think it's like that resilient side and that grit side of like, you know, and I also think as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we care what people think, right? And that is when the failures come. That's when like you don't want to fail because you don't want to fail in public, or you don't want people to be like, oh, you stopped your company. What is going on? But I think you have to block the haters out of like your mind, and you just have to like build however you're going to build without thinking about what people are going to view you
Yes.
as.
So speaking of that, how do you protect your energy while you are building your company, like, and
Yeah.
pulling yourself out of the trenches and like being focused on just growth and scaling and making sure your company is a success? How do you protect yourself?
I think from a young girl, I've always been very private and been very like selective of who I have around my space anyway, right? So
Mhm.
there's not a lot of energies like interjecting into like my everyday world of like what I'm building, like what I can do, what I cannot do. And I think you just have to like protect your space. And I think I do that very well. So there's not a lot of like hoorah around. And I think as a creator, you need that. You have to protect your energy because your energy is what's producing the innovation, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you focus on creating the right community
Yeah.
and keeping out, like, how do you vet the right people that are around you?
I think it's intuition, right? I think like what's good for you and what's not. So it's kind of like, is this person a good energy to be around? And if they're not, you might not know in the beginning, and then when just you gotta you gotta kick them out of your space. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's just being selective with all type of energies that you have in your environment.
Absolutely. Now, I do want to shift a little bit just to your expertise because your company is a company that serves other brands.
Yes, yes.
So, for you personally, what is it about video that makes you feel the most connected to your audience and to yourself? What do
Oh,
you
I
feel
love this
is
question.
the connector?
I love this question. So I come from storytelling because I've been an actor since I was 7. So I know how storytelling, how that conveys to an audience, how that can really sell, how people can understand. So I wanted to take that same element to brands, allowing their customers to pretty much sell their story for them in video. Because I think storytelling is just such a human element, and when you see something and you can hear a tone, that converts way much more than any other type of content.
Mm.
So that was my connection, was how do I bring my love for storytelling just as an actor with brands and their customers?
What's something you wish more people understood about the power of video and creating content, and how to make it actually resonate with their audience?
I think number one thing I want to say is like the more simple the better. A lot of times you think you have to have all these editing and all these graphics, but when it just looks real, that converts the most, right? Like you don't need all the hula and all the coolness. When people can just say, "Oh my gosh, Taylor, this podcast was the best one I ever been to in my life," that right there sells. It's normal, it's human, it's real. They can hear my tone. There's not a lot of stuff going on. It's just like you on your phone, just recording it and then sending it out. That
Yeah.
converts so much better than an ad campaign, than with a whole bunch of just graphics. So keeping video simple, and then the fact that it actually does amplify your sales, it converts sales so much higher than any other type of content. So there's power in video because it actually does convert more.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why platforms like TikTok do so well
Hmm.
because it's literally a platform of people just opening the camera app on their phone,
Yeah.
just pressing record. Like
Mhm.
it's it's so authentic and it feels authentic over there. Like I
Yeah.
love posting on TikTok more than I
Okay.
do love posting on Instagram.
Instagram, really?
Because Instagram feels like, first of all, the people that follow you don't engage with your content in the first place because
On Instagram?
yes, it's a bunch of looky loos. Let's start there. And I'm sorry if I offend whoever might be listening, but it's just a bunch of looky loos. And how I see it, right? Like if I'm talking to, someone who has questions about social media, because that's my background.
Okay.
I'm just like, I see Instagram just as your business card. It's the
Okay.
business card
It
for what you do.
validates.
Yes.
Okay.
Like if you're like soliciting your business and you're like, I do this, blah, blah, blah. The first platform you're going to go to is what?
Instagram.
We're going to go to Instagram. People are not going to LinkedIn first,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And so like when I
But
post over there,
question, do you think it's because they just want to see your vibe? Whether they care about your business, kind of like how do you showcase yourself as a person?
yes, I want to see how you show up. I
Okay.
want to see like what's the aesthetic.
Okay.
At
Okay.
least that's what I'm asking, right? And I
Okay.
want to know if this is legit. Like I want to see like your engagement. I want to see like, how do you talk about yourself? I'm going there for
Okay.
things.
Okay.
TikTok is more of like personal. It's where the founder stories can live. It's where
Mm.
like your journey to whatever you're doing can live,
Okay.
And so when I'm over on TikTok, I feel like I could post my opinions about things,
Okay.
because
Okay.
it feels more connected to me. But
Um,
Instagram is more of like
showy.
the mystery of me,
Aw. But you know what? I love how you describe that, because it's kind of like TikTok's more human, right?
Yeah,
It's more so like the stories on there are so kind of like relatable and like, oh my goodness, someone goes like, it's just like you feel like you can be yourself, right?
yeah.
And then I feel like Instagram, now that it's gotten so big and just kind of where it's at, it doesn't have that human touch anymore. It's for show. It's more like sales. Whereas TikTok is the real sales because it's more real and relatable and authentic, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And so to your point, the connector or the thing that connects people to video in general is authenticity.
Mhm.
That platform screams all of that,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
of that, all
Yeah,
of that.
yeah. I
So I would love to know because you know everything about your business and you've built two tech companies, from the ground up and you have a master's and all the things.
don't have a master's. I was 3 classes away. I didn't finish.
Oh my gosh, you didn't finish?
I didn't finish. I started
Wait,
my tech company. I was 3 classes away and I just stopped because like I don't at the time I was like, I don't think I can always go back, right? I can still go back.
China, what did I miss?
I I didn't finish. I was 3 classes away from finishing when I started my first company, Just Out Loud.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so you were really called to do
I
business. You were
I
called to.
I think I was but from a young girl, I wanted to start a business. So it's always been something I wanted to do.
Wait, okay, so did you wake up one day and was like,
I was
"Yo,
literally
I'm
in my
done."
room and I had just had the idea came to my head. I was like, what if we're able to add our voice, our music to GIFs to communicate? Because like during 2016, 15, everyone was texting with GIF, but no one was like talking on the phone. So you missed that tone of like, is Taylor like, is she happy? Right? Like, how is she sending me this message? Like, what's
Yeah.
happening? So I just had an idea, like, what if we add music to GIFs through our keyboard? And that's literally how that took off. It was just an idea. I talked to my family about it. I talked to some like people that I think would use it. They were all like, "Oh, this is really cool," and I was like, "Oh, let's do it." And that's
Wow.
how
There's
that.
a certain level of fearlessness that lives within you.
I don't think I have much fear because I don't think I really care about the view of people have of like what I'm building or like what I should be doing. I think I'm
Mhm.
confident in like my decisions,
Yeah.
and like I believe in myself, so I know that I can make it work.
That's so admirable.
Thank you.
Because and I think we touched upon this earlier. I feel like, as creative individuals, some of us do get stuck in the mental
Mhm.
loop that's here.
Yeah.
And so when we are building and creating and doing things, we scratch the idea and we start back. We start over so many times because we think people are going to think it's trash.
Mhm.
This is me talking about myself. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like you want to provide something, that is top tier, the best of the best. But you really just were like, you woke up one day and was like, nah, I got this idea
Do it.
and I'm moving.
Yeah. But you know
And
what?
yeah,
To your point, I think that a lot of people do that. And I think when you start building companies, you realize that like just put it out there. Like no one really cares as much as we think they do. I think we think that people care more than they actually do. And they really don't care as much as we have in our heads that they do. So like putting it out there and then building upon that and like perfecting it, like
yeah.
they'll see that journey. I think that's even more like impressive than anything else,
Yeah. So what advice, because we just learned a new level of fearlessness that you have.
Okay.
What is some advice that you have for, someone who is wanting to start a company or, start something for themselves and go into entrepreneurship and become a founder that might be struggling a little bit with confidence and showing up consistently?
Yeah. I would just have to say, like, believe in yourself so much that you just put it out. Like, don't even think, just put it out there. Like, the feedback that you're going to get is going to help you no matter what, whether it's negative feedback,
Mm.
whether it's positive feedback. Like, you can use that as like motivation to keep on going, you know? So I was like, you can't care. You like, that's the number one thing. You really can't care what people say, because like you need to hear what they have to say, whether it's good or bad. Like that is going to fuel your growth even more, you know? So
Yeah.
if you view it that way, I think that might be, you could tell me, is that a useful way of thinking about it, you know?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I don't know if that resonates.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was going to ask you a follow-up question to that. Do you think that is an attribute that founders have typically, when they are, doing things? They just have to release and be okay with whatever they put out and it not being perfect?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that we live in this. If you're a founder, you live in a world of like you believe your product so much. It's kind of like, I don't know when people say like we're in this la la land in a sense, because
That girl.
you have to love it so much that you just kind of like, this is gonna work, right? So it's kind of like the underlying confidence that I think founders have, because to birth anything, you have to have confidence in what you're birthing, right? Whether it's music, whether it's a story, whether it's art, like there's a confidence it takes for you to even start, right? To even like start creating, start writing that song that you have to have. And I think the scary part is always like releasing it. But just take it like you need to release it in order to get the feedback to like, okay, let's improve on this even more. Let me be the best that I can be, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so with you building your company and, having built another company, what kind of legacy do you feel that you are leaving behind or wanting to leave behind, that won't just show up in the tech space, but just in the creative space in general?
I want to say like believing, I hope that I leave the legacy of like, you can do whatever you want to do, right? Like you don't have to look like the space. You don't have to have a background in the space in order to be there. Like you can make a name for yourself no matter what you want to do in life. I hope that's the legacy that I leave behind. And also like being a free giver of resources and of opportunities and of things. Because I think a lot of times we get in these spaces and we don't want to like bring the other people along. It's kind of like, it's enough room for everyone. Like, let's make sure that, we're leaning a hand to others.
Absolutely. And so I am somebody who loves actionable steps,
Okay.
especially when I am meeting founders, talking to anybody that has started something and
Yeah.
started something great. I love actionable steps. So if someone that is listening has an idea that they're trying to bring to fruition,
Okay.
what do you feel is step one?
Ooh, I love this, because the step one, research your market, please. Research your market and research who you want your audience to be. Because a lot of times we have these cool ideas. We don't know who our competitors are. We don't even know if this is a product that people even want. Just because it's in our head doesn't mean it's actually going to work in real life. So that's the first thing I will say is please research your product, your audience, and see if this is something that you can actually bring, to market.
Yeah. And so for my last question, this is a reflection moment.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self before she launched her first startup?
Ooh. Network more, build a bigger community early on in college. Like just kind of cultivate that, because that's going to help you as you start growing your business and you need to scale. That's what I would say.
Wonderful. And so we made it to a segment that I like to call Claim It.
Okay.
So I have two small questions. Well, one question and then one is a finish the sentence.
Okay.
So first question is, if fear wasn't a factor, what would you boldly claim for your next chapter?
Ooh,
But
so
we know
we're
fear don't live in you. So
So I would say, we fear. I embrace fears, but what I would say is my next chapter would be like, I would say freedom, right? Because I think as a founder, I'm building so much, and I just want to get to a place where I'm just like free to like, it's built already. I could kind of like relax and not as work as like intensely as I'm doing now. So like freedom would be my next chapter. Freedom on the beach.
what does freedom look like for you and your business? I know you said that you would like to, is that passing it over to someone else to be CEO, or is that, what does that look like?
I think at a certain time, I think I would want to let it free, but I haven't gotten that. Like, I still feel like I'm not there yet. But I think eventually, I think my goal would to be like to build platforms that I know are going to work and then be able to pass them on to someone else to kind of build them at scale. And then I could just kind of be free to build something else and pass it on. I think that would be kind of like my vision that I have for myself.
Okay. I love it. I love it. And so for this one, it's going to be a finish the sentence.
Okay.
This season, I'm claiming.
Ooh, this season I'm claiming more growth. Just growth in all facets of my life. Personal, spiritual, business wise. Just I'm claiming that more growth every single year.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Chynna. This has been great. I've learned so much more about you. We were internet friends, but now
you guys, and then you guys, I came to DC and she showed me to some really cool places, and now
I sure did.
Here to see her again.
Yes, that's my favorite thing to do is introduce people to how beautiful DC is.
Yes.